I bet you've seen Tate Nation's work before, and you might have even seen him standing on the curb of a street in downtown Charleston from time to time with brush and easel in hand, bringing to life a building or maybe a moment in Charleston downtown. He's here with us today, not for any special reason, but just because I thought you might want to know more about him. I always enjoy talking to him and looking at some of his latest work. And Tate, it's good to see you.
Thanks.
How long have you been in Charleston? Because I mentioned earlier in the program that you're almost here long enough to be considered a local, but I mean, I know you moved here at some point some years back.
I do consider myself a local.
Yeah.
I've been here since the mid-'70s.
Oh, God, okay.
Left for a year or two and came back in the late '70s.
Yeah.
So been here nonstop ever since.
And upon arrival, was it just an immediate kind of, oh, I got plenty to look at and paint and describe here?
There's so much inspiration all around Charleston.
Yeah.
So people ask me sometimes, you know, where's your inspiration come from?
Yeah.
I tell them, just look around.
Right.
It's everywhere.
Your studio's in downtown Charleston now, and I often will see you camped out on a corner, and I always love to kind of come up behind you on the easel and see what you're seeing.
Yep. I like to demonstrate. I like to work while I'm being watched, and there's like I say, there's just so much inspiration everywhere that I never run out of things to paint.
Acrylic
Acrylics
is all your
these
medium,
these days.
right?
It's
yeah.
all. I've done pretty much everything, but
Right.
these days I'm sticking with acrylics, and that's because I like to build up a lot of layers when I paint. And if you see my paintings up close, you see a lot of texture. Acrylics dry a lot faster than oils anyway, so that gives me the opportunity to keep working on a piece and letting it dry and just keep on moving with it. Oils I would not have the patience to work with oils.
Yes. Well, I marvel at just the talent that comes out, and not only the ability to see it, we all sometimes can see it, but to then recreate that in your own style, and that's an amazing gift.
Well, thanks. I do. I put my own interpretation into it.
Yeah.
If you've seen
Yes.
my work, so you
Yes.
know, it's not very straightforward. It's not picture perfect. It's got my own slant to it. It's all very stylized, and sometimes people say the word whimsical. I don't know if that's exactly what I would call it, but it is very stylized, and it's the buildings are
Right.
crooked. Maybe the colors are very vibrant, and I play with that a little bit.
Well, that has to be liberating a little bit
is.
to an extent, right? I mean, it doesn't
to a
have to
large
be that
extent.
specific. It can be what you see.
That's exactly the way I like to approach it. I'm very capable of doing it just as I see it, but my own style and the way that I like to work is to put my own spin on it.
I know your work's been used in various posters, T-shirts for events and such. I think
Right.
the most recent one I kind of came across was this year's Turkey or Wobble Gobble Turkey Day Run.
Right, the Turkey Day Run is printing 6,000 shirts with one of my paintings on it. It's one
Right.
called, it's got sailboats, wooden boats on it.
Yeah.
Last year's Turkey Day Run also used a piece of mine called On the Harbor. Just this past weekend, the Old Village 5K run in Mount Pleasant used one of my paintings on the front of their shirts. In fact, they've done that for the past 12 years. It's kind of an ongoing tradition.
Interesting.
I'm a runner myself. And I run, swim, and bike, and so I'm very involved in that fitness community.
Sure.
And so I'm always happy to let them use my works on their shirts
Well,
and posters.
What I find intriguing about that, though, is that you don't necessarily zero in on the race necessarily in terms of the theme for that particular shirt, or it's what you want to do, and then if they want to put that on the shirt, that's cool.
That's right, and I let them typically pick a piece that I've recently worked on, and there's usually a committee that goes over them and chooses something. So
Yes.
As long as they like what I do, then it works for me. It works for them.
Right.
So the Turkey Day Run coming up is another big one, and the Charleston Marathon last year used one of my pieces as well.
Right. How often are you in the shop necessarily, or is that something that you just kind of go with and somebody else runs, and if you're there, you're there. If not, or
Well, actually, if I'm not there,
It's
no
not open?
one is, and I put a sign on the door telling people how to contact me. I'm there weekends these days most of the time. My main studio is at my house. I do have some studio space at my shop on King Street, and these days Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons I'm there. And especially with Christmas approaching, when the weather's good and all,
Right.
I'm there. But otherwise, it's sort of hit or miss or by appointment.
And you still do work that's commissioned from time to time, do you not?
A lot, yeah. That's a large part of my work.
So this would be individuals who want. I've seen maybe houses done for individuals.
Glad you mentioned that. I do a lot of house portraits for folks.
I see.
Not just locally. I mean, my work is all around the place, and I've just recently finished a piece for a couple in Texas of their house, and some folks that have second homes at Kiowa and Seabrook, and all around Charleston often commission me to do pieces like that.
And typically you would do that just based on some pictures, or would you have to physically go see it as well, or?
When I can, when I can, I like to go there. It takes a lot of pictures. Typically, if I'm going to do a house portrait, I'll go shoot literally several hundred pictures, every kind of detail that I can, because I'm going to stylize it, I'm going to change it anyway. But if I don't have the information there to start manipulating, then it kind of leaves me without the information that I need. So I'll take a lot of photos. There have been cases when I've had people send me photos if they're too far away for me to get. But then I'll kind of direct them, and I'll ask them to, hey, go back out and shoot it from something from this angle and send me that. Of course, I had a couple approach me on the street just about a month ago from Colorado, and they said, well, how do we get this started? And I said, well, the first thing you've got to do is fly me to Colorado. So we're still talking about that.
Well, you got to see it. Yeah, okay. Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks for coming in. I always enjoy talking to you and seeing what you're working on latest. And for somebody who has trouble with stickmen, I really marvel at just the talent, and I'm so happy you're a part of our community.
Great to be here, and thanks. I love Charleston.
Well, we all do, and we thank Tate Nation Artists for joining us. His studio, again, is located at 257 King Street. That's where he keeps his shop. You can also visit his website at tatenation.com if you want to browse through a gallery or maybe order something that he's done online.